Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. I am your host, Angie Grandt. I'm a parent coach. I really have been working through how to label myself as I continue to shift the way that I want to show up for you. So I'm going to leave it at that I'm a parent coach. But here's why I've been struggling on that a little bit is, well, I love working with parents a lot. I find so much joy in helping parents to look at their kids differently, to show up differently for their kids, and also to heal the parenting relationship between parents. Because I know in my marriage, it was a train wreck. I did not have these tools when I was married. And I'm okay with that because I'm in a relationship that I brings me so much joy and happiness now, which wouldn't have been maybe if I had these tools before and stayed in that relationship. I don't know. But that's my story. The real reason that I'm sharing that is today I want to talk about the most important relationship in your life. And I'm going to touch on some things that might be a little bit outside of the parenting scope, but I find them intriguing and interesting. So we'll just leave it at that. Hang there with me as we work through this. But we all have important relationships in our lives. If I asked you what is the most important relationship in your life, some of us would say our kids, some would say our significant other, maybe we'd say God or source. Maybe we'd say that our most important relationship that we have is the one that we have with ourselves. I can say that probably most of us wouldn't actually pick that last one, that relationship with ourselves. I I am seeing more and more of that as there's more personal development, at least in front of me, that I'm noticing out in the world. And it's something that I really focus on with my clients is that relationship with ourselves, because when we're so busy trying to fix everybody else and fix all of our other relationships, but we still didn't have a great relationship with ourselves, it's kind of like putting band-aids on all of those other relationships when we don't see our own value. But let's kind of work through these different relationships that and kind of just talk about that because I think that this is an important topic that impacts all of us in different ways. So, when you think about what that most important relationship is in your life, I want to ask you a question. When you say that that's the most important relationship in your life, are your actions matching your words? If you said that your child or your children are the most important relationship in your life, are you taking action to show up for them the way that you want to, the way that your gut tells you you should? Or are you instead going through the motions of every day and just trying to survive? Because you get to choose either way, right? You get to choose to keep doing what you've been doing and going through the motions every day, or you could choose to take different action, choose to show up for your kids in a totally different way. That's most of what our focus is here in this podcast is how do we show up for our kids in a way that is aligned and connected with that relationship that we want to create for them. So we'll come back to that in a few minutes. But if you said that your relationship is with your spouse or your significant other, if you say that that's the most important relationship, and I want to say that none of the answers are right or wrong here. We all have different needs, different expectations, different conditioning about what we feel like is the most important relationship in our life. There isn't a right or wrong answer. But if we say that it's our significant other, perhaps our thought process is that we need to have a strong co-parenting relationship in order to be the best parent that we can be. I pose that same question to you is if your relationship with your significant other is the most important relationship in your life, do your actions match your words? Are you taking action that aligns with this thought of your significant other being the most important relationship in your life? Or are you taking them for granted or not showing up for them in a way that matches your thoughts? And then that last one, same thing, right? If you say that your most important relationship is with yourself, what kind of action are you taking to step into that? We know that, and like I said, there is no right or wrong answer here. I do know, we know research tells us that our relationship with ourself is a necessary foundation to all of our other relationships. So those other relationships are super important, and you get to prioritize where you put each of them. But that relationship that you have with yourself is the foundation for all the rest of it. If we think about our relationship with ourselves and we use self-deprecating speech, we put ourselves down or don't take good care of our energetic needs, our physical needs, our emotional needs, if we're not taking care of our needs and instead we're just trying to push through life, but we say that we know that our relationship with ourselves is the most important, well, then there's a bit of a misalignment there. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode. We talked in a recent episode about question asking and how to really tap in to what's true for you. I want to take that concept and really apply it to what we're talking about here today, which is showing up for yourself in a way that's aligned, a way that steps into your full value. So what do I mean by that? Well, when we're valuing ourselves at a level that maybe we might value others or put the needs of our kids in front of our own, when we're not valuing ourselves and we're putting our own needs after everybody else's, we're not really fulfilling our energy needs. We're not filling our emotional needs. We're not filling our physical needs. And when we're in that place, or when we're in that place of martyrdom, of putting everybody else's needs before our own, well, what are we doing then in taking care of ourselves so that we can show up for those other really important relationships? If we say that, oh, I love myself, I put self-love at such a high value, but then we're not taking the rest that we need. We're not giving our body the fuel that it needs. We're not listening to what our body needs by using that question asking that we had talked about a couple of episodes ago. When we're not doing what our body, our soul, our mind, when we're not doing what we need, we're setting ourselves up to be in a position where we're pulling from energy that has been depleted. We're short with the people that we love and care about. we're not able to show up in a way that is in alignment with what we say we're doing. So, what do we do about that? Well, the first step is really understanding what you need, which, like I said, goes back to that question asking. When we are making decisions that are aligned with our energetic needs, then we aren't expending energy trying to figure it out, right? We aren't expending energy trying to hold up this facade or this mask of who we think other people want us to be. So that's step one, is really stepping into that question asking, stepping into listening to what our body needs. Then step two is really understanding our energetic needs. So we've talked about this a little bit, but we all have different energetic designs. When in the episode when we were talking about question asking and that there are two broad categories of types. One has a defined sacral, which means defined work energy, and the other group, so about 30% of the population, does not. They have an undefined or open sacral. Well, those two types have very different energetic needs. And the types who have a defined sacral perhaps have more energy to go and work and do. However, when defined sacral types are not doing work that they love, when they're feeling unfulfilled, they're feeling purposeless, defined sacral types can quickly get burnt out and can waste all of their energy on things that don't matter to them, leaving them depleted. So, when a defined energy type or a generator type is doing work that they don't love, doing tasks that are unfulfilling to them, they can quickly be defeated, have a lack of energy, and they're likely to need to do things to replenish that energy to meet their energetic needs. So, so the real solution to those who have a defined sacral isn't necessarily about rest. And we're going to talk about rest in a minute. The solution for those defined sacral types is actually about helping them find projects or work or purpose that lights them up. Because when a generator type is doing work that they love, that energy just flows and it's there and it's easy and it's accessible. But when there's a misalignment with purpose, a misalignment with feeling fulfilled, generator types can be burnt out and depleted. The solution really is purpose. But on the flip side, those open sacral types, so the non-generator types, they're much more likely to actually need regular cycles of rest and rejuvenation because by nature, the open or undefined sacral types don't have consistent energy. So they don't have consistent access to work energy, doing energy every day, which means they're pulling energy either from people around them, pulling energy from perhaps the celestial bodies, or pulling energy from other energy centers that they might have defined, but that aren't really designed to be sustainable. So whether thinking about you or somebody else in your life who is a non-sacral type, really valuing rest, creating time to rest, really holding rest as of utmost importance for those who have an open sacral is the key to really loving yourself and really creating that relationship with yourself that leaves you feeling rejuvenated, leaves you feeling fulfilled. And there's some nuances about ways to refill your energy that I'd love to share more with you. But for the sake of this episode, I really just want to share that in order for us to really step into that relationship with ourselves, to love ourselves, two really key things have to happen. One is listening to your unique decision-making authority. So those yes, no questions or versus open-ended questions. And if you want further description about that, go back to the episode that we just did about feeling stuck, right? About feeling burnt out. We went through how to really tap into your authority. And then the second piece to that is really understanding work energy and what that looks like and how that plays out in life because it's different for all of us. I give you a very broad overview of how that looks different for the sacral versus the non-sacral types. There's so many more nuances about that, but I want, and for the sake of just stepping in to who you are and loving yourself and really nurturing that most important relationship in your life, those are the two things that I want to leave you with today is tap into your sacral or your authority of talking things out and really understanding your daily work energy and what that means for you and what you need to do if you really want to nurture that relationship with yourself. Because like I said, when we nurture that relationship with ourselves, the other relationships get easier. When we have that strong foundation of a clear relationship with ourselves, where we're valuing our preciousness, where we're valuing our worth, and really fueling our own vitality, when we can do that, then we have the energy for those other super important relationships in our life, whether it's about our kids, about our significant other, about our relationship with Source or God. When we really think about and step into some key strategies, then then we have the tools that we need to fulfill those other relationships. So I did want to leave you with one other really interesting little thing. So that sacral is really important in our relationships, especially in our intimate relationships. And so I had said earlier in this episode that I wanted to just give you a little bit of a nugget um, to just get you thinking about how our unique energy type plays into all of our relationships. So our sacral is about work and life force energy. So our sacral gives us the energy to do work in the world. So for those of us that have it defined, so 70% of the population, our sacral gives us that energy to do the work of the world, to create what we need to create in the world for humanity to continue growing and evolving. So that's part of it. But it isn't just workforce energy, it's also life force energy. And which means that our sacral has the energy to not only um, take care of our children, to nurture our children, to do what we need to do to take care of our body, to have the energy that we need to deliver that baby into the world, but even to go a step back, it's the energy to make babies, right? And so our sacral has a very unique blueprint for each one of us about how we interact intimately with others. And our sacral has some really powerful insights about what leads each one of us to maybe like being in the mood to be intimate with our partner, which understanding this can be such a game changer in a relationship, right? Because when we think about if one of our most important relationships is with our significant other, and we're trying to step into what's our truth and we're trying to fulfill our own unique energetic needs. But we each have some specific things in our sacral. So depending on which gates you have defined, and whether or not our sacral is defined or undefined, our gates are activated, I guess, um, depending on our unique configuration, can have a huge impact on our interaction with the other people in our relationships. So I'm going to leave you with that. I think that understanding the gates are activated in my sacral has been really interesting, just studying and learning the nuances there, because it helps me have such a greater understanding about why I might feel exhausted when perhaps being in a different mood would be more appealing, right? But understanding what it is for me uniquely that can help me be more connected in my intimate relationships can be a really interesting thing to understand to help you if working on that relationship with your significant other matters to you. Might be something you might want to know a little bit more about. So I'm going to leave you with that. I can't wait to connect with you. I hope that you found this episode interesting and powerful in your most important relationships. So we'll talk soon. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.